It's Sonic Mania. Once again, I live streamed me playing this entire game. I didn't want anyone to doubt that I actually did this challenge. So I grew up with Sonic games, but I haven't played any for years. And I knew that this game was considered a return of form for the series, or the 2D series that is, and it was really headed up by like a mega fan that I believe was making his dream Sonic game, and Sega shut him down, and instead of like suing him, they're like, well, just come make it for us, which is the way you should handle something in that situation. This looks and sounds just like classic Sonic. It has, of course, a little bit of a nicer sheen on it, being on the Switch and being a modern console game. I remember being fascinated with the color and the presentation of the first Sonic game, and I definitely got that again here. But even though this looks like a classic Sonic game, the stages are way larger, with way more routes and different things you can take through the stage and different ways to maneuver through the different areas. It feels like Sonic really on steroids in a lot of ways. Even though it's a love letter to the classic games, they really went above and beyond with this one, what they could with those games. And it's really prevalent. And I don't think any real big Sonic fan would ever be disappointed with this game. The presentation's great. Like I said, the level design's the best I've ever seen in it. And I will say that I do think this is the best 2D Sonic. But that's the crux of the matter. How good is the best 2D Sonic? Because as I've gotten older, I've started noticing more and more flaws with the 2D Sonic formula. This game plays just like Sonic 2. You can run and jump, you do a charge dash, and outside of a few power-ups, that's pretty much it. If you've never played Sonic before, your currency and your health are these rings that you collect. But when you get hit, the rings fly out of your body, and if you get hit with no rings, you're dead. So the big thing with Sonic is when you get hit, you gather up as many of those rings as you can possibly grab so that you have extra health to proceed through the rest of the level. And a lot of times with Sonic, it's not really about learning the techniques of beating an area as much as it is just stockpiling your rings, getting in a couple hits, then getting hit yourself, gathering as many rings as you can, getting hit, and doing that and rinsing and repeating that over and over again until you take out the boss. And there were several bosses in this game that I just went in and took a hit and gathered my one ring and hit them a couple times and got hit and gathered my one ring and hit them a couple times and got hit and just did that over and over again. And I was able to kind of tank my way through some of the bosses without really learning their patterns, which I think is a bit of a flaw. The main issue with Sonic, and what they've always told us about it, is that they want you to go fast. But the trick is you actually need to slow down and collect as many coins as you can to get the extra lives and to get the Chaos Emeralds and have really the resources you need to get through the actual game. So what you need to do is set in stark contrast to what the game kind of leads you to do. And Sonic feels different from other platformers. Instead of feeling like you're going through an obstacle course, it feels like you're stuck in like a Rube Goldberg machine. A lot of the time, the game just sort of dashes along and you have no control and you just watch Sonic. And this is fine sometimes, but the percent of the time you do this in Sonic games is really high, which lowers the gameplay density. If you've never heard the term gameplay density before, it's how much controller input you have to use to make it through the game compared to what you see on the screen. Visual novels have low gameplay density. Games like Tetris have really high gameplay density. You're always manipulating the game. And Sonic, for a platformer, has low gameplay density. Some of the sections of this game I couldn't really figure out how to get through or what controls I was supposed to press or what buttons I was supposed to press. And it turns out the solution was to not press anything and just kind of let the level play itself. And I think that this is what turns off a lot of people to Sonic. It's a spectacle to watch, but it's not much to really play. The stages, of course, are all gorgeous, and a lot of them are really memorable, but others are a cluttered mess, and you can't even tell what is the foreground and what's the background. Stages like the Green Hill Zone throwback, the Cherry Blossom stage, the Pinball Machine, and the Southwest United States stages were super memorable. I loved them, but a lot of the other ones, like inside the oil refinery and inside these various factories, and the one that's made out of like horned instruments like trumpets and trombones and stuff, they're just like a visual disaster. Like it's so hard to figure out what's going on with all these tubes and pipes and crap running everywhere. Sonic games also just really love to troll you. They'll put like walls and springs and spikes and other annoying things right in your path that will cause you to come to a sudden stop or reverse direction or go off course. And that's irritating. That once again goes directly in the face of this idea of going fast. Jumping on enemies is a lot of fun in Sonic, but you don't really do it that much. You're mainly just platforming your way through these levels and trying to find a route through them. And sadly, Sonic's jumping is kind of floaty and awkward. It's always been that way. I wish there were more enemies, and I wish you had that lock-on ability that you have in a lot of 3D Sonic games. I think that would add some like agency and some alacrity to this game. And I know you don't want to hear that about Sonic. You want to think it's a really great, beloved platformer because so many people are in love with this game and it meant so much to them when they were young, and it meant a lot to me too. I loved Sonic when I was little. I was a Sonic fanboy. I couldn't wait to get a Sega Genesis to play the Sonic game. I had a birthday party where we had a Sonic cake. So I know exactly how you feel. One of the other big issues with Sonic is that you really don't have the time to enjoy and appreciate the environments while you're playing because you're bouncing around and getting knocked all over the place. I rewatched the live stream of me playing this game and was shocked to see how cool the stages were because I barely noticed it while I was playing. I was so focused on Sonic dashing around that I didn't notice the really cool features in the background or the neat set pieces or even how the stages were put together. And I feel like that's a little bit of a flaw. Once again, the game wants you to slow down and smell the roses, but it's enticing you to go fast and speed through everything. And there's a real dichotomy there that doesn't necessarily always work. Lots of really cool stuff happens, but it's mostly just flash. You know, like when you're in a fight in an RPG with a boss, right before the killing blow, the game will take control away from you and it'll make you watch a cutscene of all the cool crap that the main character is doing and what you should actually be doing yourself through pressing buttons. Sonic feels like that, except the garbage happening at the end of the boss fight is happening every 20 seconds in the game for the whole duration of the game. You do a couple jumps, then you go into some tube that just zips you and bounces you all around for the equal amount of time that you were actually playing. You come out on the other side, you orient yourself, you hit a couple springs, then the game will put you in a catapult and shoot you across the stage. Like, it's just that over and over and over again. It's fun, but this isn't something I want to play over and over and over again. Now, it's always been strange to me that Mario and Sonic were considered competitors because they're not even in the same ballpark at all. They don't even feel like the same game other than the fact that they're platforming side-scrollers. Still, Sonic Mania is a really good game. I think it is the best 2D Sonic game, but I just find Sonic to be a little lacking in terms of its gameplay. And this comes from somebody that grew up loving Sonic, had a Sonic-themed birthday party with a Sonic cake. Sonic Mania, very good, but just a 7 out of 10.